Hello and welcome to Digital Empowerment, Harnessing Cybersecurity to Combat Gender-Based Violence. This workshop is going to be about understanding gender-based violence from a cybersecurity and technology-focused perspective. And today we will explore key facts and important talking points about this critical issue. So I really appreciate your attention to this vital topic. My name is Huralain Mohamed. I am the founder and CEO of Cytech Solutions. We are a woman veteran-owned government contracting agency based here in the heart of Washington, D.C. Prior to starting Cytech Solutions, I've been working in IT and cybersecurity for over 15 years now. I started my career in the Army where I was a 25 Bravo IT specialist, and then I got out and worked in government contracting for various agencies. The most notable one being CISA and DISA, where I was working at the Pentagon. After starting Cytech Solutions, I also recently founded Cytech Academy with one of my partners, and that is a academy where we are going to be teaching cyber and technology to different institutions, and eventually we want to begin having courses to teach cybersecurity and technology. Now, for today's agenda, we will be discussing gender-based violence, which refers to harmful acts that are directed typically at an individual based on their gender. This includes physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological abuse. But gender-based violence is a pervasive issue, so that affects millions of people worldwide, and it's very devastating. There's consequences for individuals and communities at large when it comes to it. Gender-based violence often extends into the digital sphere, so posing significant threats to women's safety and autonomy online. We're going to examine how cybersecurity tools and strategies can be employed to combat this type of online harassment, intimate partner surveillance, and other forms of digital abuse that we'll talk about today. The attendees will learn about innovative approaches and initiatives aimed at empowering women to reclaim their digital spaces and assert their rights in the face of technological threats. So we'll start with understanding the types of violence and the relationship to technology. We'll also explore the power of OSINT tools and then dive into best online security practices. Now, when it comes to understanding gender-based violence, this is a global issue with 1 in 3 women experiencing physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. So it's often by an intimate partner. This violence takes many forms. It's physical, sexual, emotional, psychological abuse, as well as harmful practices like child marriage, sex trafficking, and so on. The impact on health is very profound for the victims that suffer from physical injuries, mental health issues like depression, anxiety, even reproductive health problems for women especially. Economically, gender-based violence incurs very significant costs, including healthcare, legal fees, and lost productivity. Additionally, children who witness violence are at a higher risk of developing emotional and behavioral problems and are most likely to become perpetrators themselves. So many times it goes unreported due to stigma, fear, and lack of support. And certain groups, right, including women with disabilities, indigenous women, LGBTQ individuals face even higher rates of gender-based violence. With multiple identities, such as those from the LGBTQ community, ethnic minorities, and indigenous groups. Now, when it comes to violence through speech and hate crimes, women with multiple identities, such as those from LGBTQ community, ethnic minorities, and indigenous groups, often face online discrimination and hate speech the most. This targeted abuse frequently forces them to self-censor and withdraw from online debates and discussions. Additionally, certain groups of women are particularly vulnerable to ICT-facilitated violence. So this includes human rights defenders, women in politics, journalists, bloggers, women that belong to certain ethnic minorities, as well as lesbian, bisexual, and transgender women, and women with disabilities. So this type of targeted violence can severely impact their ability to participate in public discourse and advocate for their rights, especially when it comes to the online landscape. When it comes to violence through sex trafficking, cyber violence has become a significant tool in the realm of sex trafficking. The traffickers use online platforms to recruit, exploit, and control their victims. They often lure individuals through deceptive job offers, romantic relationships, or other manipulative tactics. Once entrapped, the victims are coerced into performing sexual acts that are broadcasted and distributed online, which is even worse. And then this digital exploitation not only violates the victim's rights and dignity, but also subjects them to continuous abuse as the content remains accessible on the internet. So the reach of online platforms makes it easier for traffickers to operate across borders and complicating efforts to identify and prosecute them. So combating this form of cyber violence requires robust legal frameworks, international cooperation, and comprehensive services for survivors. Now, online platforms have significantly facilitated sex trafficking by providing traffickers with easy access to potential victims while concealing their identities. Social media, the dark web, messaging platforms are commonly used by traffickers to exploit victims and connect with buyers. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Traffickers often use three types of platforms. So there's advertising sites where sex services are offered, review sites where hobby boards where users can share experiences about sex services, and then sugar dating sites, which have become very popular in the past few years. These promote relationships with commercial arrangements. All these platforms make it easier for traffickers to operate, it expands their reach, and it complicates the efforts for us to be able to track and apprehend them. So, addressing this issue requires targeted strategies to regulate these online spaces and protect vulnerable individuals. Now, when it comes to violence through revenge porn is the non consensual sharing of intimate images. It's particularly insidious form of cyber violence. So, according to the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative, 1 in 8 social media users in the US have been a victim of revenge porn, with women being twice as likely as men to be targeted. This malicious act not only invades privacy, but also leads to psychological distress and reputational damage for women, and also an increased risk of harassment and threats. To protect against revenge porn is crucial to take several steps. So always be cautious about sharing intimate images, even with trusted partners, as the circumstances can change. And then utilize privacy settings on social media platforms to control who can view your content. Also, be aware of your rights and legal protections that are available if you ever become a victim of that. Now, another form of violence that we see often is violence through cyberbullying and trolling. Online harassment can have serious, sometimes fatal repercussions. 59% of US teens have experienced some form of cyberbullying, and those behaviors include sending threatening messages, spreading rumors, posting harmful content. The impact on victims is profound. It leads to anxiety, depression, and in very severe cases, suicidal thoughts and actions. So the relentless and public nature of online attacks really make the victims feel isolated and helpless. And in order to protect against this, it's very, very important to use strong privacy settings on social media. It's very important also to have adults involved in advocating for and monitoring social media use when it comes to children, and encourage about open communication with the online experiences that these children are facing. If there is anything that you see going on, always report it to trusted friends, family members, and professional counselors that can provide that emotional assistance and practical advice for dealing with that type of harassment as well. When it comes to violence through doxing, so doxing is the act of publicly revealing someone's private information online without their consent, and it is a really dangerous form of cyber harassment. So it includes sharing like home addresses, phone numbers, personal details, which lead to real-world consequences such as stalking, harassment, and threats. There was a report that said 21% of internet users have experienced some form of doxing, and this really causes fear and anxiety for the safety of online personal information when it gets exposed to the public. In order to protect against this, very, very important to limit the amount of personal information you share online and regularly update your privacy settings on social media, other platforms, as well as on your phone. Additionally to that, always use strong passwords and enable two-factor authentication to secure your accounts, and be careful about the names and information that you're putting. Use aliases, pseudonyms, and things like that when possible online. And always take legal action if you are a victim of doxing. When it comes to non-consensual deep fake violence, fabricated images that look realistic and videos also are created using artificial intelligence, and this represents a growing form of cyber harassment that we've seen in the past few months, especially deepfakes that can be used to place individuals in compromising or explicit scenarios without their consent, causing very emotional reputational harm. We've seen that recently with some music artists, Taylor Swift and Megan Thee Stallion, that had pornographic videos made from them through AI and it caused a very big problem for them when it comes to their brand identity. So 96% of deepfake videos online were pornographic, which is very important to note, and the majority of this targets women. So to protect against non-consensual deepfakes, it's crucial to be aware of the technology and its potential misuse. Regularly monitor your online presence and your images and your videos and who has access to it, and also understand that there are legal guidelines that you can take to address the situation if that ever happens to you. Now, when it comes to cyber stalking and swatting, these are also severe forms of online harassment with dangerous real-world consequences. Cyber stalking involves the use of digital technologies to harass, monitor, or intimidate someone, and this often leads to chronic PTSD and anxiety and fear for people, constantly having to look behind their back thinking they're being stalked by someone. And according to the Department of Justice, I think 1 in 4 stalking victims reported being stalked through some form of technology. And on the other hand, we have swatting. So swatting is a malicious act where someone makes a false report to emergency services, which promotes a SWAT team or armed police response to an unsuspecting victim's home. And we've seen this result in serious injury or death, especially against women. It's often used as a form of retaliation against gamers, celebrities, and activists. So it's very important to protect against these by enhancing your digital security. Use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication, be conscious about sharing personal details online. If you suspect that you are being cyberstalked, always document all instances of harassment, report them to the authorities. And in the case of potential swatting threats, inform your local law enforcement agent and establish a communication plan to mitigate risks. And then always tell friends, family, and professional counselors so that they can provide you some sort of practical advice and also remote emotional and mental relief when you're experiencing something like this. Now, when it comes to violence through catfishing and romance scams, we see this a lot. It's very, very prevalent, especially with online deception that exploits individuals' emotions and trust for malicious purposes. So catfishing involves creating a fake online identity to deceive someone into a relationship, and this often leads to feeling betrayed and emotional distress when the truth is revealed. And then romance scams take this a step further. So the scammers use fake identities to establish romantic relationships with the intent to defraud their victims financially. According to the Federal Trade Commission, romance scams resulted in a loss of $304 million last year, and this is one of the most financially damaging types of online fraud that there is. And to protect against catfishing and romance scams, it's very, very important to be able to first vet the people that you're talking to online, right? Be cautious of people who are reluctant to meet in person or share verifiable information about themselves. Always use image searches to check if their profile pictures are used elsewhere on the internet. And then just be aware of inconsistencies in their stories. So if you ever suspect that you're being scammed, be sure to notify the authorities so that you can have a report in place for this. Now, when it comes to violence through impersonation and identity theft, there's devastating impact on the victim's lives because the impersonation involves pretending to be another person online, and this is usually meant for personal gain. Identity theft it also involves stealing personal information such as social security numbers, bank account details, credit card information in order to commit fraud. So according to the Federal Trade Commission as well, identity theft affected 4.8 million people in the United States, leading to billions of dollars in losses. And again, a lot of what I mentioned earlier is ways to mitigate this, such as a two-factor authentication. Be wary of sharing sensitive information online, especially when it comes to your financial accounts, but also monitor your financial accounts regularly for any suspicious activity. And if you suspect that your identity has been stolen, always report it to the credit bureau and consider placing a fraud alert on your credit reports also. Now, when it comes to spyware and webcam watching, these are very, very invasive forms of cyber surveillance that can lead to significant privacy violations. So spyware is a malicious software that infiltrates your device to monitor your activities, stealing sensitive information, and even control your camera and microphone without your knowledge. Webcam watching is a form of that and involves hackers accessing your webcam to spy on you, which often leads to very, very psychological distress with the fear of you being constantly watched. 48% of Americans are already concerned about unauthorized access to their webcams. So this highlights the widespread fear and potential risk of this. One thing you can always do is just place a webcam cover or something to cover your webcam so that nobody's able to access it when you're not needing it and using it. And very, very crucial to maintain robust cybersecurity practices. So regularly update your operating system and computer to patch vulnerabilities. Use antivirus, anti-malware programs to detect that type of spyware that's on your computer. Be cautious in downloading software or opening attachments from unknown sources, especially when it comes to phishing emails, because these can contain methods for spreading that spyware on your computer. And then if you suspect that your device has been compromised, take it to be thoroughly cleaned for your system and have a restore put onto it. Now, financial abuse through technology involves the use of digital means to control, exploit, or steal from individuals. This often targets vulnerable populations such as elderly people and those in abusive relationships. The perpetrators use online banking and electronic payment systems or digital financial platforms to gain unauthorized access to victims' funds, monitor their financial activities, or even coerce them into transferring money to them. I think that financial abuse occurs in 99% of domestic violence cases, and technology is increasingly being used as a tool to perpetrate this abuse. So, to protect against financial abuse through technology, it's very important to practice good digital hygiene. So use strong and unique passwords for financial accounts. Monitor your financial statements and credit reports for any suspicious activity. Be cautious about sharing financial information online and educate yourself. If you suspect that you're a victim of financial abuse, always seek some sort of guidance and professional advice, as well as notifying your family and friends so that they can help you get out of that situation, especially if it has to do with a domestic violence situation. There are also shelters in place that can help and support you if you are experiencing anything like this, and there are grants and money that can be given to you to help support you in this form. Now, when it comes to violence through discriminatory algorithms, people would not necessarily think of this as gender-based violence, but it is, and it can actually exacerbate gender-based violence by perpetuating biases and inequality in digital spaces. So algorithms are used in social media, law enforcement, financial services, and they can unintentionally reinforce harmful stereotypes and discriminatory practices against women. So, for instance, an automated content moderation system may fail to adequately address online harassment targeting women or marginalized groups while disproportionately flagging or penalizing their content. So, in 2018, there was a study that found algorithms used in criminal justice systems were more likely to incorrectly predict that Black defendants would re-offend compared to white defendants. And this illustrates the broad issue of bias in algorithmic decision making. So it's very, very crucial to promote transparency and accountability in the development and deployment of these algorithms, especially requiring this from companies. This also involves ensuring diverse representation in tech teams, conducting regular audits for biases, implementing robust oversight mechanisms, advocating for policies that mandate fairness and equity in algorithmic systems, and also help mitigating these issues. So also always spread awareness and education about the potential biases that these algorithms can produce, so that we can help empower different individuals and make requirements for these technologists and policymakers to put things into effect that will help protect us against this. When it comes to the relationship of technology and cyberspace, technology has significantly increased the ease with which abusers can locate, recruit, coerce, and control their victims. Both technology and the internet are harnessed by sophisticated traffickers to facilitate gender-based violence at each stage of the exploitation process. Traffickers use tools to identify and recruit victims and control them, sell goods and services derived from their exploitation, and launder profits, right? Social media, encrypted messaging apps, dark web marketplaces are commonly exploited by these abusers to maintain control over their victims and perpetuate the criminal activities that they're doing. So to combat this, it's essential to strengthen digital literacy and awareness among potential victims. Abusers exploit various social media and conversational platforms to locate, groom, and exploit their victims, like we mentioned earlier. This is a list of some of the different platforms that are commonly used for that. And then along with that is conversational sites and messaging apps such as WhatsApp and Signal that provide another layer of interaction where they will chat with young individuals and gather information about them. And then grooming often occurs on these platforms where traffickers and abusers will convince victims to send compromising pictures, which then they can use for extortion. Another one is webcam sites, which is often exploited to further manipulate victims. So this is very important to keep in mind when using any of these sites. Now, it's also important to understand that the internet consists of two main parts. There's the surface web and the deep web. The surface web is indexed and accessible through search engines like Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo. This is what we use frequently when we're searching for things online. In contrast, the deep web is estimated to be over 550 billion pages. It's not indexed by search engines and includes private documents, government databases, library archives. Anything that you can think of is on the deep web. A small portion of the deep web is called the dark net or the dark web, and it is intentionally hidden and it's not accessible through standard web browsers. The dark net provides anonymity and it makes it a haven for illicit activities, including gender-based violence, to occur. The abusers will often use the darknet to share non-consensual images, stalk and harass their victims without detection. So understanding the internet structure helps us address online gender-based violence, strengthening cybersecurity measures, enhancing digital literacy, promoting collaboration between tech companies, law enforcement, and policymakers are crucial steps to protect victims and prevent abuse as well. One of the things that's very important is to always know your digital footprint, right? There's a correlation between the level of mobile telephone and internet penetration in a country and rates of gender-based violence, particularly where technology spreads without adequate education or associated risks. So that's why the knowing your digital footprint and also learning about the different tools that are out there is very important. Different apps and social media can provide these abusers with access to your location, your data, your images, your contacts, depending on the user's privacy setting. So it's very, very important to always read before you download an app what the privacy settings are, what type of data they're going to be extracting from you if you continue to use this app. TikTok, definitely take a look at if you use TikTok and what the privacy settings are for that. GPS tracking capabilities in these apps will allow abusers to be able to track your physical location. And a lot of these apps also are very teen-centric, which is something to keep in mind. Just overall, enhance your digital literacy and educate users about the dangers of oversharing personal information is crucial steps to protect individuals from gender-based violence. Now, when it comes to OSINT, which is open source intelligence, abusers will often misuse this to gather information on the victim. So we see this with social media. Traffickers analyze public profiles and posts to gather personal information and understand vulnerabilities. Geolocation data. Your photos posted online can contain metadata revealing frequented locations. Reverse image searches. Perpetrators use these to find additional profiles or information about their victims. And then people search websites also. These compile publicly available information, search addresses, phone numbers, everything you can think of, you name it. So understanding all of these methods can help develop protective measures and educate users on safeguarding their personal information. So when it comes to abusers scanning your social media, they rely on SOCMINT, which is otherwise known as social media OSINT. And understanding these tools listed here can help you in developing strategies to protect your personal information and educate users about online safety. So here's a couple of the tools I'd recommend you take a look at for this. So a couple of GUI-based tools is ID Crawl, which is searches social media profiles and gathers personal information for you. What's My Name Web, which identifies usernames across various platforms. And then Digital Footprint Check, which analyzes your online presence and digital footprints. Some CLI or command line interface-based tools are Sherlock, which finds your usernames across social media platforms. Terra gathers geolocation data from social media posts. And then FB Sleep Stats analyzes Facebook activity patterns. Extract Face extracts faces from images on social media. And then Instaloader downloads Instagram photos and metadata. Now, abusers and perpetrators often exploit geolocation tools as well to track and monitor potential victims. Some of these key tools include what's listed here. So you see Pic2Map, which extracts geolocation data from photos and reveals where the image was taken. XIF tool analyzes and edits metadata in images, including geolocation information as well. And then GeopsAI, which tracks and monitors location-based data through advanced algorithms. All scary stuff to think about. So OSINT reverse image searches. Abusers and perpetrators of exploitation often use reverse image search tools to find additional information about potential victims. So Google Images, Face ID Check, TinyEye, PIM eyes. These are all used for facial recognition technologies that find images of the same person across various platforms and gather related information on those people. And then people search directories. So this is when people search tools are used to gather detailed information about potential victims. An example of this is White Pages. It provides basic contact information, addresses, and phone numbers. That's Them offers comprehensive details. It's like IP addresses, vehicle identification numbers, emails, things like that. And then True People Search will give information about your relatives and very extensive personal information. Family Tree Now will provide a whole list of your addresses and family connections, which is very scary when you want to protect your family members. And then Spokeo aggregates data from various public sources, including social media profiles, to create detailed personal reports on you. Now, abusers and perpetrators also exploit what's known as location service misuse and air tags to track and monitor potential victims. So location services, many apps and devices use GPS to provide location-based services. So the abusers can exploit these services to track the real-time location of victims, often without their knowledge. And then AirTag stalking, on the other hand, Apple AirTags are designed to help users locate their personal items, but this can also be misused to track individuals. The abusers will secretly place an AirTag on the victim's belonging to monitor their movements. So in order to protect against these, it's very important to regularly check your device for unknown AirTags and disable unnecessary location services on apps, and then stay informed about the latest security updates and use privacy settings to control who can access your location information. Now, women are often the targets of identity theft schemes on the dark web, where stolen personal information is bought and sold. So monitoring the dark web can help women detect signs of identity theft, and such as like authorized use of their financial accounts or the opening of fraudulent credit lines on their credit report. Early detection enables women to take steps to mitigate the damage and protect your overall just financial well-being and prevent further exploitation. So utilizing dark web monitoring services and then staying vigilant about personal information can be crucial in safeguarding against identity theft in this case. So online job ads can sometimes be used by abusers and scammers to exploit job seekers as well. So to protect yourself, research the company, right? Check the company's website and LinkedIn page to ensure they're legitimate. Verify the recruiter, confirm the recruiter or hiring manager is legitimate by checking their LinkedIn profile and connections. Analyze suspicious links. So if you receive a suspicious link from a recruiter, use tools like urlscan.io to analyze the URL and check for potential threats. And taking any of these steps will help you to avoid falling victim to fraudulent job ads and just protect your overall personal information. Now, I added this one in here for fun, but it's very, very prevalent when it comes to traveling. So traveling abroad, especially for solo women, requires some extra precautions to ensure your safety. So here are some cyber tips that you can take. Number one, track your flights. Use FlightWare to track the flights of your friends and family and ensure that they are aware of your traveling plans and movements. Share your itinerary with your friends and family as well, and give them accommodation details and contact information for you. And then always stay connected. Keep your phone charged. Maintain regular contact with someone you trust. Research the destinations that you're going to and learn about the local customs, laws, and areas to avoid to ensure your safety. And then secure your documents. Always keep copies of important documents like your passport, travel insurance in a safe place to make it accessible digitally for you. And then when it comes to using data apps, so data apps can be a great way to meet new people, but it is important to prioritize your safety. So verify profiles by checking social media for consistent information. Avoid sharing personal details such as your home address or your workplace early on. Keep conversation within the app's messaging platform until you feel comfortable. And then always meet in public places for initial meetings. Inform a friend or family member of your plans and share your location with them. But most importantly, if your instinct tells you that something feels off, take steps to protect yourself by blocking or reporting suspicious users within the app. Following these tips can help save your lives and ensure a more secure and positive experience when it comes to dating apps. Now, one of the things that you can also do to protect yourself when it comes to gender-based violence in cybersecurity is data removal services. So data removal exists to help you seamlessly remove personal information from the internet and enhance your privacy and security. Key services will include Delete Me, which helps remove personal data from various data brokers and websites. Mine also identifies and assists in removing your data from online services you no longer use, Aura, which offers comprehensive data protection, including 24/7 voice and text monitoring for games. And then utilizing any of these will help to be able to remove all of your data that's online so that it cannot be used against you. And here's a list of the sources from some of the information that I talked about today. That's all that I had for this workshop. Thank you so much for attending. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can contact me on LinkedIn, any of my social media accounts, or by email and phone, which I listed early on. And I will be here to help any of you guys if you are experiencing gender-based violence. Thank you.